Hello everyone, I'm Inverse, and after about a month of an absence, I am back with some Company of Heroes casts, a continuation of the Build Order Breakdown series, and a brand new computer, which means hopefully some shiny 1080p broadcast, 1080p video, some nice textures, all that fun stuff. I will warn you in advance, this is the first game I'm trying to record on my new machine, so if there's any random lag spikes or something like that, I take full responsibility, but I just want you guys to be prepared in case something like that happens. Anyways, on to the game at hand. This will be the fourth part in the Build Order Breakdown Volks Volks Sniper MG series. If you haven't seen any other parts of the Build Order Breakdown series, I strongly encourage you to go back, watch at least the very first video, which kind of goes over the build order generally and each of the maps generally. Each of the other parts are going to be map specific and also starting location specific. As you see here, we are on the south side of Langres. Now just going to get this game started and talk a little bit about this map. I really like Langres for Volks Volks Sniper MG. I think it's in general a pretty good Wehrmacht map and also the best map for Volks Volks Sniper MG. I personally prefer starting up here at the top side just because I like the mobility I get down here and I like being able to push down here. I also like the location of this house from the top more than the bottom. Of course, the bottom does have this munitions point. However, as we can see from the positioning of my Wehrmacht quarters down here on the right, I am really going to be focusing on this right hand side of the map. Furthermore, if we look at my capping order right now, I'm skipping this +5 fuel point, and the reason I'm doing that is because the strategy that I'm doing really does not need fuel that much. I am planning at the outset of the game to be going for a tier 2 transition out of my tier 1 play. If my opponent does something super greedy like goes full bars and grenades and a weapon support center, then yeah, I might go for something like a tier 3 tech, a straight tier 3 tech with blitz or something like that. But in 95% of the games you are going to be playing, you are going to want to go tier 2 with this strategy just because it's the most safe and it's the most stable against everything your opponent can throw at you. And with that in mind, I'm going for the quick munitions cap in the front. I'm also going to send my Pioneer over to the left hand side. He's going to cap this point, and he's going to try to cap this point. Most good American players are going to not let you cap this point, so you're going to need to back off, probably cap this, cap down here, something like that. This Pioneer on the other hand, capping down here, then going to go up, cap here, swing around, cap here, also might hop in this building. This is a crucial building. If you can control this, you control the right hand side of the map for the most part. Now I'm sending my Volks squad, first Volks squad, straight to this fuel point. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't really want him capping because that's wasting time and wasting the manpower that I spent on that Volks. I can just as easily cap with a Pioneer squad. So what I'm trying to do is deny him some fuel, deny him some map control, deny him some comfort. Most American players are expecting to be able to take this fuel point, and if you don't let them, it really throws them off their game. Now I am going to move around a little bit on the right hand side. This is, by the way, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but this is a game against Sandland that I played a few months ago. I actually played it a long time ago, I think in August. But I looked through my replay folder and it was probably the best example of Volks Volks Sniper MG from this starting position on this map, with a bit of a different tech transition in the mid game that we're going to see in a little bit. But this battle right here will definitely go my way, or at least it should go my way. I have the extra DPS of the Pioneers, also the extra damage tanking of the Pioneers. Now this was a bit of a mistake on my part. I wasn't able to get in this house, and this is going to give Sandland a very solid position going into the mid game. He's just going to be able to camp in here. I am going to move over here in a little bit and plant some sandbags, which is one alternative you can do on the south side, just to kind of try to put a little bit of pressure back on this house. But if he just sits in this house with a rifle squad and then say an engineer squad or something like that, he's going to be in pretty good shape. Now we do see my munitions getting up there a little bit. I'm going to hopefully plant a mine. No, I will be planting mines soon. However, mines of course very important to the strategy. And just something I want to point out in the way Sandland is dealing with what I am doing. He's doing something really smart. The main enemy of Volks Volks Sniper MG 90% of games is running out of VPs. If you lose, most of the time you're going to be losing because you don't have VPs. You're going to lose because of a VP defeat. And what Sandland is doing is really trying to cap all the VPs and put a lot of pressure on me to be mobile and to not be able to kind of lock down a single set position, which is what I want to do with this strategy, or at least be able to harass in a set location without him trying to spread me thin, which will be very, very effective. So my counter to that is going to be pushing a little bit more on the right hand side. I do have this munitions point on the left, which is very, very good. I am also laying some mines down here on the left, and I am hopping in this building. So I now have control of this building on the right hand side, which is very, very good. My sniper is also out taking a few pot shots. My MG also on the field right now. And Sandland does something really, really smart. Well, kind of really smart. He knows I planted this mine. He saw it with that rifle squad. So what he's going to do is get in position and then retreat over him. He's going to lose... He actually lost a lot right there. Usually you don't lose that much, however. That's a good way if you know there's a mine somewhere to kind of defuse it early game if you don't want to buy minesweepers. It costs you a bit of health and it might cost you a man or two, but you take a lot less damage running over on a retreat than you do running over just regularly because of the defensive bonuses on the retreat. So I am getting tier 2 before the med bunker. And the reason I'm doing that is because my pioneers were out of position. They had to retreat. They planted these mines and they had to run away. So I had too much manpower, which means I'm just going to get my tier 2 tech out a little bit quicker. It's not a big deal, really. I do have mines. No, I don't have mines. I will have mines over here very, very shortly. I have the munitions for it. I'm actually laying a mine somewhere, but I can't see it. Or I queued it up. I think I queued it up. Yep, there it is. But Sandland being very, very smart, really harassing the left-hand side. This is why I don't really like the bottom as Wehrmacht, especially with this strategy, is because if your opponent is any good at all, you're not going to have this munitions point for any part of the game, really. Realistically, of course, you might have it for certain parts and stuff like that, but Sandland is coming in for a little bit of a flank right now. This is a very, very good timing for this flank. I'm decently well set up for it. This MG is in a pretty good spot. He's going to come in from down here as well, but my sniper kind of puts a timer on any of his attacks. He really has to get damage done quickly, because if he doesn't, my sniper is just going to kite back, deal a lot of damage to him, and force squads back, even if it doesn't manage to kill any squads. Now, I was forced to retreat, but this is one of the reasons why putting the Wehrmacht quarters down here on this side of the map, on these starting locations, is very, 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 very helpful. This gives me a kind of mobile reinforce point. It's a very, very forward reinforce point as well. I can fight, and it's very, very close to my strat point, so I will be able to take back my strat point if he tries to harass it. And as you can see, I'm really trying to push up right now because I was forced to retreat, but the main key with Volks Volks Sniper MG that you guys really have to notice and figure out is you can retreat all day if you don't lose map control. And as you can see, if we open up the tactical map, I still have this very crucial +10 in the middle, still have this +10 fuel down here. I'm in a great spot to cap this point and to even put pressure over here, and I still have a lot of map control even though I was forced to retreat, because I was able to quickly I don't know, what's that word? Exert my force onto the map. There we go. And I was able to take it back rather quickly. I did get a minesweeper, and I do now have my tier 2 up going for a pack because I did not see any bars. And against a good player, when you're forced to retreat like that, it's always a good idea to get a minesweeper before you head back out, especially to defend your sniper with. And mostly because if your opponent had gone infantry company off of that flank, chances are he knows you're going to push back out into the map, and he's going to plant a lot of mines everywhere. Minesweeper really, really good against that, obviously. I am capping back. As I mentioned earlier, Sandland doing an excellent job capping all these VPs. Already has me down to 350, and we're only 8 minutes and 20 seconds into this game. Very, very effective use by him. And now I start thinking about tech. I'm going to pause right on 8:30 and just kind of think about what could my opponent possibly be doing right now. There are a few options. He could be going for bars, as we see right there. Very, very late bars. He didn't have bars on the one flank. He got it extremely late. Unfortunately, I already have my pack on the field. Not much I can do about that. If he had gone straight fast bars, normal fast bars, I'm assuming I don't know if he got a supply yard first. I'm actually going to check. No, he got a triage first and a supply yard. Okay, so that's why his bars was very, very delayed. And that's not a bad idea to do as an American player, because a good Wehrmacht player is not going to go tier 3 when he doesn't see bars, because, you know, motor pool really, really good against tier 3 for the most part. And delaying bars, of course, you don't do as much damage with them early on, and your opponent gets stronger and all that stuff, but it can catch them off guard. And here I was definitely caught off guard getting that pack first. This pack's going to be completely useless for at least 5 minutes or so, I'd say. And that's one less grand on the field. That's 290 manpower that's just going to be sitting around doing absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, in my Krieg barracks, I am getting another grand. If my opponent had gone for a straight bar rush, so 4 rifles and then bars without anything else, I would have certainly gotten a second MG. At this point, however, I feel my money is better spent going for the Grens and just kind of pushing through on the infantry front, getting enough infantry and fighting around my bunker and around my MG and sniper, and really, really trying to deal a lot of manpower damage at that point. Now, I'm just going to speed it up a little bit until we see another engagement. At this point, I'm just trying to set myself up. You see, keep my munitions rather low. You want to do that until about the 15 or 17 minute mark, because at that point you kind of want to be saving up for triage, prop war and med kits and all that fun stuff. So we do have another flank. Going to slow it down to 1x speed again. We do have another mini flank coming in right now. Not really an excellent job by Sandland in this regard. Kind of has one rifle squad over here not doing anything. This flamer squad went in a little bit too early and had to retreat. Same with this rifle squad. This flamer going to do decently, as well as this rifle squad, but my sniper in a fairly good, fairly defensive position. He's not going to die right now. Definitely. I actually retreat him. I think I probably could have walked around here and been perfectly fine, but I guess this extra rifle squad kind of scared me off. He does see my Gren now, so he does know I am going tier 2, and I do have to keep that in mind when I determine my later tech and my later decisions. I am getting another Gren we see in my base, and at this point he's just trying to shoot medics, and then he's going to get out of there, as we see. Quickly retreats right there. I should run away, run away, run away. Yep, there we go. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to keep saying it, the VPs, very, very important for American players if you're having trouble against this strategy, and for Wehrmacht players really have to pay attention to this. Almost 300 already. We're just past the 10-minute mark in this game. Very, very annoying, very, very difficult to deal with for a Wehrmacht player is a really good, really aggressive American player who loves to cap VPs and really harass VPs. Now, small thing to note, I am almost certain there's going to be a mine here. We saw for a little bit there, rewind it if you didn't really notice it, when my sniper shot at that flamer squad, all 3 men on that flamer squad were stacked on top of each other. That's an instant tell that there's a mine being laid there, and I am not going to travel across this area until I send my minesweepers up there. Where are my minesweepers? Did they die? Nope. See, my minesweepers are actually going up around this area because I know there's probably a mine there, and even if there isn't a mine there, I want to be really, really certain before I send something like my sniper or even any other infantry squads up there. Now, I'm going to pause and just point out, I built a Compcraft Center and I'm getting Vet 1. The main reason behind this is, let's see what I know right now. I know he went bars. I know he's not being aggressive, which means he flanked that one time, he retreated, and if he had spent all of his manpower on reinforcing those squads, he would be attacking me right now. He would probably attacked me a few seconds ago, and he's not doing that. He also has 2 fuel points, and he's not getting snipers either, so he couldn't be teching to snipers, or at least not straight teching to snipers most likely, and he isn't attacking me, which means he's teching at least to some degree. My best estimation, given the information I have, is that he is going for a Sherman rush. The reason for this, of course, the fuel points, the lack of aggression, because even if you do go sniper tech, you need to be a little bit aggressive in order to get damage out of that sniper and in order to put your rifles in a good position to defend that sniper. So I'm assuming, hey, no snipers, at least not yet. If we look in the base, we don't have any snipers. where are his squads? His squads are coming out for a flank, and they are reinforced, but it was a little bit later than I had thought. And with that in mind, I'm going for infantry vet. I'm going to go vet 2 because I am almost positive he will be going for Shermans. And against Shermans, you absolutely positively want veterancy on your infantry. You want it before tier 3. You probably don't even want to go tier 3 because Sherman's just so good against Pumas and can decrew and kill Nebelwerfers at a ridiculously fast rate. We do see the mine is here, so it was a good idea. I sent that minesweeper up there. I'm not going to try to defuse it yet because he does have a lot of men over there. But just going back to the tank depot and veterancy, I'm going to pause it one more time just before we get into this flank so I can just explain kind of more of my logic behind why I want to get veterancy instead of, say, tier 4 tech or something like that against someone who I suspect is going for Sherman play. First of all, even if he's not going for Sherman's, vet is just an extremely useful ability or an extremely useful upgrade to have if you have any number of Grens. I have 2. I also have, I think, a few men. No, only 1 man in the med bunker, but I probably will be continuing to build Grens throughout this game, especially if he goes for tank depot tech. It's just a really, really useful upgrade to have. And furthermore, if he goes tank depot tech, his infantry are not going to be vetted because he's not attacking as much because he has to spend his money on the veterancy. He also can't really be as aggressive because he has to choose between reinforcing his squads and building more Shermans, or say switching up tech and going for snipers instead to counter my vetted Grens, which means I will have the infantry superiority with vet 2 and good positioning and superior numbers. I will be able to beat all of his Bard rifles, and with Shreks and a second pack, the moment I see a Sherman, I will be able to deal with his tanks easily. This is something you really have to pay attention to on Stursdorf, which is one of the maps I will look at later on, not probably in a few weeks time, but it's definitely an option on other maps like Angleville and Langres with a lot of fuel. So with that in mind, let's get back and just kind of watch this flank. Still picking away with my sniper. I am a little bit worried about a counter sniper still. I think there might be a possibility of my opponent going for snipers, even though I'm fairly certain he is going for Shermans instead. That is the reason behind me getting this bike right here. And even if he doesn't go for snipers, the bike is useful just for scouting out. I'm going to be able to see exactly what he is doing, which is what I probably will be doing in a second once I defend this flank. Now, Sandland did a very, very good job. This flank really, really pushing around and dealing a lot of damage to all my infantry, forcing a lot of retreats. You see a lot of low health squads in here. However, once again, the positioning of this Wehrmacht quarters makes it very, very easy for me to push out once again. You see the Volks in this bunker just too strong for the rifles to really do anything against. I'm going to lose a Volks, which is a little bit sloppy. Really should have retreated that a little bit earlier, but I'm going to be able to push out. And just like I said earlier, you can retreat all day. Your opponent can force you to retreat, and it's not a big deal as long as you retain map control. Look at this. I had to retreat every single unit on the field. I had no units past this strap point forward. I had everything either back here, in my base, or right around here. And he still wasn't able to decap a single thing. And that's because I was able to quickly bounce back, quickly reinforce my squads around this Wehrmacht quarters, quickly get my sniper back in the action, and just deal as much damage as humanly possible in as quick a time as possible, and force him back, which was absolutely what I was trying to do at that moment. I do have my bike. I'm probably going to scout around in a little bit. I am going to want to cap some VPs. VP's getting dangerously low, 270 right now at the 14-minute mark. Definitely something I'm going to have to start really, really focusing on and really paying attention to sooner rather than later. Now, I'm getting another Gren, and I'm not too worried about Shermans at this point because I've had this pack I've had this pack for a super long time. I also have a ton of munitions. You see 150 or so right here. I am laying some forward mines, but I will be able to snap build 2 Shreks the moment I see a Sherman, if I see a Sherman. And I'm not going to build them in advance because my pack is more than enough to defend against the Sherman, at least initially. If he's really aggressive and tries to flank it and drop artillery on it, I might be in a little bit of trouble, but for the most part I'll be able to delay him long enough to get 2 Shreks up, even if I haven't started building them when he shows his Sherman. Now I have 3 Grens. I only got the Vet 1 because I'm still not positive as to what he's doing. If he is going for some sort of sniper tech or something like that, I can still quickly transition into tier 3 play. I have a lot of fuel, the main limiting resource of course being the manpower, but I definitely would be able to quickly transition into some sort of tier 3 play if I see snipers. Otherwise I can quickly get my Vet 2, and I'm actually going to get my Vet 2 right now anyways, and that'll just help me out a lot against the Shermans. Oh boy. Anyways, but the reason for me getting the Vet 2 at that particular time is it's way too late for snipers at this point. We're 15 minutes into the game. I'm going decently heavy tier 2. The 2 main responses to that are of course snipers and tank depot tech. And without snipers on the field just yet, I'm fairly certain it's going to be tank depot tech. Of course, I'm not positive. But given my map control and given my situation in this game with my fuel and how I've been conserving manpower, I haven't really lost squads. I'm going to get a free squad. Where are the medics? I'm probably going to get a free squad soon unless he killed the medics and they haven't revived. So as you can see, I'm getting the Vet 2 and then I'm instantly teching to tier 3. And this is more a precautionary measure because I'm still not sure what he's doing. I have all the fuel in the world. Fuel is not a factor for me right now. I also have decent map control. And I'm going to be able to soon push out on the left side of the map now that I have the Vet 2 on my Grenadiers, meaning they can easily stand up to the barred rifles that my opponent has. So I'm getting the tier 3 tech because I feel I'm ahead right now. VPs are a little scary for me at this point, but in terms of map control and in terms of the damage I have done to Sandland, I feel very much ahead, and I feel in a very, very good situation, which means I can afford to sacrifice the 200 manpower to get this tech and be a little bit safer, get myself in a bit better of a position against any possible sniper play. Now, of course, we see the Sherman right here, so my assumptions, my suspicions have been proven true. I am almost instantly, I'm sure, going to build a second pack. There we go. See the second pack. First pack going to be moving up. And I have 1 Shrek on the field. I'm probably, yep, there's the second Shrek. It's actually very much out of position. This is kind of a bad play on my part. It's going to be a little bit scary at this point because my opponent is pushing in very, very, very hard on the right-hand side. He actually backs up. If he had pushed up a little bit more forward, he probably would have done a decent amount of damage. That mine being very, very useful, very, very helpful for me. But at this point, I know his tech, and I can adapt accordingly. I'm getting the second pack out. I'm going to want to get Vet 3 on my Grenadiers and my infantry as soon as humanly possible, as soon as I can while still being safe. And, of course, I am not going to want to build Tier 3. If anything, I will build Tier 4. And that's only if I have a ridiculous fuel advantage, I have a map control advantage, and I'm already fairly well ahead. If it were a closer game, like at this point, I feel I'm decently ahead, and once I build a few more Grens, I would probably be able to tech to Tier 4. In most games, you're not this far ahead. I don't have this much map control. I haven't preserved this much manpower. My opponent has done a better job of, say, countering my sniper that has 28 kills now. And it's generally just a more difficult situation for the Wehrmacht. Of course, Langres, being the map that it is, very, very good for Wehrmacht, and especially this strategy. Really, at this point, it turns into, hey, I need to counter the Shermans. Chances are he's going to realize either his Sherman tech was a really good idea and he's going to keep building Shermans, or, hey, my opponent is prepared for Shermans, I should stop doing this and then transition into weapon support center and get some snipers. The main thing you have to figure out is realizing when he's doing that and when he's doing either or. So when he's either teching a little bit more and getting the weapon support center compared to when he decides, hey, I'm just going to keep building Shermans. Still only one Sherman. I do have my pack, shooting stuff. My Grens, my second pack also out. And I'm just trying to think what else I want to say about this map in particular, because at this point it turns into a pretty standard mid-late game Wehrmacht against Americans, where the Americans got Shermans and the Wehrmacht players trying to counter it, and it comes down to, can the American player deal enough damage with the Shermans and then transition into snipers, or will the Wehrmacht player defend the Shermans enough so that he is more than adequately prepared for the snipers and is able to tech up in order to kind of push the snipers off. Now 150 VP is almost very, 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 very powerful thing Sandland is doing right now, forcing me to focus on the VPs, forcing me to cap the VPs, putting pressure on me by capping the VPs himself. At this point in the game, I'm not really worried about resources, and I'm not really worried about map control. I'm worried about the VPs. If I do not control the VPs, it's 150 right now. If I do not control the VPs, I will lose. That's just the simple truth. My opponent, Sandland, is at 490, which is a lot more than 150. So that will be the main kind of point, the focal point of my focus for the rest of this game is going to be making sure, hey, my opponent, he can't beat me on VPs. I have a superior army. I have superior tech. I have adequately reacted to what my opponent is doing, and with that in mind, I just have to be super defensive, super safe, and make sure I don't let my opponent catch me off guard, catch me not defending VPs, and just kind of win because, hey, I didn't have my units in the correct positions. So with that in mind, I'm just going to speed it up a little bit, see if there's anything else I want to point out. That's the gist of everything I wanted to get to in this game. I do have Vet 3. Always want to get Vet 3 before the King Tiger. I did of course go Terror. I didn't really mention that, but I did go Terror, as I tend to do with this strategy. I personally find it beneficial and I find it strong to go Terror with this strat. Of course, you can go anything you want. You can go Blitz. Blitz is fairly good as well because you can get the stews. Defensive, of course, never really a bad idea either. I think we have 2 Shermans on the field. No, just 1 Sherman on the field. But at this point, we do see, I don't know this, but he does have a weapon support center up right now. So there is going to be a sniper transition out of this, and once I realize that there are snipers on the field, I'm going to want to tech up. Probably not to tier 3, but given my massive fuel advantage with the 180 fuel banked right now, I'm probably going to want to go for tier 4. Generally, I would stick on tier 2, but against a Sherman player, a player who goes tank depot and snipers, tier 3 isn't really viable, and tier 4 probably the best thing to do, even though it's a little bit risky. The problem with tier 3 is Shermans just counter it so hard that even if you get some Nebelwerfers up to kind of push back and force the snipers to micro and all that fun stuff, it's really hard to keep everything alive against Shermans and then later M10s and anything else your opponent might be building. Of course, Pershings, always a possibility. Calliope is very good against Nebels as well. So, speed things up a little bit more. My opponent is going to get a Pershing out. I do have my KT. I also have my Vet 3 infantry, so I'm feeling really comfortable right now. Only problem is, of course, the lack of manpower. But that's not too big of a deal, seeing as, if we look at the tactical map, I have the entirety of the left-hand side right now, pushing my opponent back a lot. As I mentioned earlier, I'm actually going to check. I'm going to pause it for a second. 1 supplier upgrade for Sandland. If we look at his rifles, we have 1 vet there, 1 vet there, 2 vet there, and I guess he lost. Did he lose? I can't tell that one. But I'm pretty sure he lost a rifle. So he has a decent amount of vet, but usually you would expect an American player to have a bit more veterancy this late into the game, 30 minutes into the game, and that's just because of the tech. That's one of the risks of going for a vehicle tech or anything other than a rifle heavy tech in the mid and late game, is the fact that you don't really have that crucial rifle veterancy once the Grenadiers get Vet 3. And once the Grenadiers get Vet 3, it's very difficult to gain veterancy of any sort as Americans because it's so hard to kill stuff with anything other than Shermans and snipers. Now the game is going to continue. I'm going to fast forward. There's a sniper on the field. I also have a sniper on the field. I'm going to try to get in a good position to counter snipe. I'm not going to shoot. Maybe I shot and missed. I will finish this game, guys. I will finish this game. I'm trying to think what else I want to say, and I'm having a tough time figuring out. You know, it's a pretty standard late game. Most Volks Volks Sniper MG games do turn into a standard late game. It ends up being what you want to do against what your opponent wants to do, and that's really beyond the scope of a build order analysis and beyond the scope of what build order breakdowns tries to be, which is focusing on a build and focusing on how to react out of that build to certain other strategies, and then working off that into the late game where you're in a good position to make the decisions you need to make in that late game situation. Once you get to that late game, it's kind of up to you. You really need experience. There's way too many variables, way too many factors, and way too many different options for both sides to really give a definitive, this is how you should play late game against this in these situations. For example, I have a Stuka. I'm getting tier 4, and you could very easily stick on tier 3 with the King Tiger. Just get more Grens, and that would definitely work as well in my situation. At this point, as long as I don't spam Pumas or something like that, I'm probably going to win this game. But we're gonna see some fun Pershing stuff. Let's look at the pretty Pershing. Pretty Pershing. And my game actually hasn't lagged at all. It stayed on 30 FPS for this entire time, which is very impressive. What's that? What's that on the side there? See, I went to a high school called Notre Dame, so we were of course the Irish, and that looks to me like the leprechaun on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish stuff. So it's kind of tripping me out. Maybe it probably isn't though. Germans probably weren't big Notre Dame fans back in 1944. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a Company of Heroes caster. I'm not a historian. And I'm sure plenty of the armchair historians who watch this will correct me if I'm wrong. And the Nazis did in fact really, really, really love the Notre Dame football team. Anyways, I guess there is something I could point out related to the game right there that I did wrong, which was killing this Pershing when it had Allied War Machine. When your opponent goes Allied War Machine on a tank, you generally want to attack ground with your AT guns and any tanks you have, and either attack ground with your Grens as well, or keep your Grens moving on move commands, because if your Grens are moving, they will not shoot anti-tank weapons, so they won't shoot Shreks. Rangers won't shoot bazookas, airborne won't shoot recoilless rifles, all that fun stuff. So that's generally what you want to do against Allied War Machine. Just wait for the Allied War Machine to wear out, and then kill the tank. But in this game, it wasn't too big of a deal because the VPs are finally in my favor. All 45 minutes into this match, I have a whack load of Grenadiers. I have my Ostwind, I have my Stuka, that's actually gotten 10 kills somehow. I actually never used Stukas. This is like one of the only games in the last like 6 months that I've used Stukas, at least against Americans. Against Brits, it's a bit more common just because really boring, really lazy Brits who just sit beside or behind like emplacements and stuff like that. You kind of need Stukas or the like. Now Sandland being very valiant. I think valiant's the correct pronunciation of that. Whatever, I'm only taking like 3 English classes this year. No big deal. I should be able to speak there, but I can't. I'm losing everything. He has Vet 3, but I'm kind of sloppy because I know, you know, game's over as long as I got cap stuff. I have 300 manpower, which means I can spam prop war for as long as I desire, and the game ends with the GG. So that is Volks Volks Sniper MG from South Langres. The next part will be Volks Volks Sniper MG from North Langres. It is probably my favorite position and favorite map to play Volks Volks Sniper MG. I will have a lot to say about it, and I look forward to recording that video, and I hope you guys look forward to watching it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient as I went on holidays and then came back and have been waking up at 6 a.m. 5 days a week, and it's been ridiculous. And I had to build my computer and transfer everything over, but I finally have everything figured out. And I am streaming daily, usually around 5 p.m. PST, Tuesday through Sunday, and Mondays a little bit earlier. Sometimes hour or two, sometimes a bit longer. So check that out, twitch.tv/InverseTV. There is a link or a URL down on the bottom right. Also check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/InverseTV, and follow me or subscribe to me on YouTube if you enjoy what you watch. But yes, thank you for watching, and I will be back next time with more. Goodbye.